Hello there, fellow folks. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back for the Anime Podcast Show. Right here, I'll be talking about my favorite series. Also, we'll be talking about some topics in segments if something in my interest. So for this week's episode, for the first segment we'll be kicking off is which anime series I got into. This will be the era of the post-pandemic era. For this series, the next one is I got into somewhere in 2023. And this series, I kind of mentioned about it on the last episode of a school, like a wizarding school, like Harry Potter. But this is the series. I think that's the series I was talking about. So this series is called Reign of the Seven Spellblades. Reign of the Seven Spellblades is a light novel series written by Bokturo Uno and illustrated by Ruria Miyuki. ASCII Media Works published it since September 2018, released for over 15 volumes as of late, with the manga version published by Monthly Shonen Ace from May 2019 to November 2023 for over 8 volumes. It's sad for them to stop, and I think they have to rely on the light novels. But to the anime series, it was first announced back in December 2021 that JC Staff would be the studio behind it. It aired from July to October 2023 for 15 episodes and adapt 3 volumes. That's a question, is where is season 2? It seems we're supposed to be getting an announcement just a year ago, but we didn't. I'm still saddened. Does that mean the franchise is dying? Does people care about it? Does people don't care about it? If there's any fans out there who enjoys the show, the light novels, etc., I'm not sure. Now to the dub. It premiered on Crunchyroll in 2 weeks later, because it's behind for their simul-dubs. They always do that. Or some shows are like a day apart, or the next day, or maybe hours from each other, maybe. I pretty much enjoyed this series. But what was my interest with the series anyway? The interest started around with the dub's announcement, because I'd recognized the 2 VOs from 2 different shows. One is Noelle's English VO from Black Clover, and the other was Tomo. Tomo-chan is a girl. And however, with everybody else, I'd never heard of them. After watching the first episode, it surprised me. And funny story, I think it was like 2 days after the show was premiered for the dub, I was doing a hangout, and I forgot to mention this to Katie's English VO. I totally forgot about it, and I was like, oh, and it was I think it was like 5 o'clock in the morning that I supposed to chat with her, because I was in another hangout. Oh, sorry, not another hangout. I think it was a Twitch stream for a Streamily event, yeah. And she was a castmate from Quintuplets, and I'm going, oh crap. Well, yeah, it's really funny though. But I never realized until 2 to 3 years later, it seems that this cast was too perfect. And I'll mention about another series in the future, because the VO who voices Nanao will be her first lead role. Ever since this show, with everyone's roles they got after Spellblades, I truly respect them for every show they worked on. And as a supporter, to be honest, I'm so happy for them. Also, I've seen a few on social media, Twitch, etc. But on Twitch, it's fun to hang and chill with them, playing video games, or just chatting with her, or him, or an autograph session for a Streamily. It's so much fun. So, anyway, that is with my interest with the anime series I got into. And that would be Reign of the Seven Spellblades. We are going to move on to the next segment, and that would be Topic of the Week. It's been a while since I talked about this. So for this week's topic would be, what's the people's favorite light novel series, and how they can expect from their storytelling. So in the top 5, in the number 5 list, so we're going to start off with one of my favorite series, and that would be Soma Spider So What? It deserves its spot because of its creative narrative structure. The story runs on dual timelines, following Komiko's survival in the dungeon while showing events from a different perspective that occur later in the timeline. At first, these storylines appear separate, but as more information is revealed, their connection changes how the readers understand everything. The author uses information could deliberately key context with until the right moment, allowing major reveals to complete reframed earlier events. This structurally designed is not just a gimmick, it is centered to how the story builds in their suspense. Kumiko's chaotic and humorous monologues also serves while she is commentating is entertaining. And it's really hilarious though. And it sometimes masks the true danger of her situation. The earlier survival horror atmosphere grounds the power progressing, making her later strength feel earned rather than arbitrary. The combination of humor, danger, and structurally twists makes the storytelling feel narrative and more dramatic. But this is why Spider Sword has to be in that list. So now, to the next series, it has to be a world building in the world of Overlord. It earns its position because it has the ambition to use a perspective, but understandably, instead of focusing solely on Ain's the narrative for how they consequence the story, is they shift to the characters on the side, rivals, factions, kingdoms, and ordinary citizens. This multi-perspective approach makes the world feel alive and independent from the protagonist. The series also takes a bold approach by centering the story on a character who is effectively the villain. From Ain's perspective, and on his point of view, his actions are strictly and legitimate, but from the outside world's perspective, he is damn terrifying. This contrast adds the depth and moral to the storytelling. Rather than depending on unpredictable fights, much of the tension comes from political manipulation and long-term planning. The strategic elements create a suspense in a different way. Additionally, there is a subtitle emotional layer in watching Ayn slowly distance himself from his remaining humanity. That underlying tragedy adds complex to what it might otherwise to be a simple power fantasy. So this is why Overlord is in that list of why this type of storytelling is in that type of light novel storytelling. Now, next up to a series, it's very forgettable, but I don't know if people forget it, or I don't know if people still care about it. But this next series, it'll be called Raka Braids of the Six Flowers. It stands out because of its bold, the premise of this story, because you see 6 heroes are chosen to save the world, but when the 7th appeared, the story immediately transformed into a damn mystery. Instead of focusing on defeating the demon god, the narrative centers on identifying the imposter among them. The brilliantness of its storytelling lies in how it uses suspension and as the primary source of tension. Every character becomes a potential traitor, and trust becomes fragile. And the story shifts from a typical fantasy adventure into a psychological battle of deduction and accusing. Dialogue drivens much of the suspension. Rather than relying on contrast action, but the tension builds through the conversations, arguments, and shifting alliances. The reader is encouraged to question is every statement and motivation by blending fantasy with a locked room style mystery. Raka creates a unique storytelling experience that feels both intimate and intention. Now to number 2 in the list. Now to one of my new favorite franchises, and that would be Apothecary Diaries. So this earns its place because it proves that tension does not require itself. Well, instead of relying on battles or large-scale conflicts, the story builds suspense through deduction, politics, and subtitle character dynamics. The stakes are often social or even political rather than physical, which makes the storytelling feels more mature and layered. The world building is the delivery nature. Rather than explaining the political system in the long exposing dumps, the series allows readers to learn through cases and court interactions. Every mystery depends on of our characters we've seen on the show. With our understanding that it plays our hearts of what is in that type of style of a story that they telling us about. So, like, give an example, right? So we see Mao Mao's personality also strengthens the narrative. And we know that in the show that Mao Mao, she's always with Master Jinchi. But there are some situations going on in the palace, what's going on, and then let's say with Lady Gyokyo, and then Mao Mao got kidnapped, and something like that. So it keeps the drama grounded, because she's approached problems legitimate. Overall, this entire storyline of Apothecary is, rather than not and discouraged it, but telling us of a different point of views what's gonna happen throughout the entire thing. But overall, we see the narrative contrast carefully with our characters we all know throughout the entire story. So now we know that in the light novels, well, as of myself and the anime fan, we gotta wait for a bit longer because we're gonna see what's gonna happen with Mao Mao and Jinshi. But sometimes when we see both of them together, or we see other characters together, it's pretty cool to see. And of course, it's like a detective case, by the way. So I'm going, okay, this is like a detective case, but you're in the palace walls. So let's move on to the last one. And this last one in the topic, that will be about ReZero. The series stands out at the top because its storytelling is built entirely around consequences and character growth. Unlike most of isekai stories where death is either avoided or reversed without emotional weight, the series turns into death and trauma. Subaru is forced to remember every failure, every pain, mistake, and every loss, which means the story that never truly resets. Instead of each arc stacks emotional pressure onto himself, which makes the storytelling expecting is that Subaru's development is earned. He does not become stronger simply because the plot needs him. Because the plot needs him. But to be honest, he grows because he breaks down, reflects, and slow changes as a person. His victories feel meaningfully because they come after this suffering and self-improvement for him. On the top of that, the series plants a narrative seeds far in advance. Foreshadowing is used carefully in arcs, often recontrasted earlier events. The tension is not just about survival, but about whether Subaru can mentally endure what the story demands of him. That psychological weight is what type of character he develops in the story. And he cares for the people he loves, and cares for Rem, Amelia, Ram, Master Roswell. Well, he's an idiot. But still, he really cares for the people he loves and cares for the citizens or what's going to happen for the future of the storytelling in the light novels and the anime. So that is all for the topic of the week segment. I hope I will revisit this topic in the future. Of course, about to wrap things up for this episode. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoy it. Comment, like, and subscribe. If y'all haven't done it yet, please do so. You will miss out a lot of topics and a lot of content I'll be putting out. And hit the notification bell. Please do so. That is it for today. Take care of yourselves, and see y'all next time.